Bienvenue pour la conférence de presse de Sicario de Denis Villeneuve, avec donc son équipe Emily Blunt, Josh Brolin, Benicio del Toro et son chef opérateur Roger Brolin, and the director of photography is also here, Mr. Roger pour le film de Valérie Donzelli.
We'll be back for another French filming competition later.
Bonjour à tous. Pendant que les photographes s'affairent pendant encore quelques instants, je voudrais vous demander de profiter de ces quelques instants pour éteindre vos téléphones portables, vos iPads, ceci, cela. While photographers are at it for an extra couple of seconds, please use this time to turn your cell phones off, and iPads and beepers and what have you. Quand vous voulez poser une question, soyez assez gentil de lever la main un petit peu à l'avance, de façon à ce qu'on puisse vous voir. When you want to ask a question, please you raise your hand a little bit ahead of time so that we can see you, and more importantly, so that the ladies equipped with microphone come to you and give you the mic. When you have the microphone, please stand up, introduce yourselves, ask your questions, sit down, and give the mic back. Lorsque vous aurez le microphone et que vous avez une question à poser, soyez assez gentil de vous lever, de vous présenter et de poser votre question, puis de vous rasseoir et de rendre le micro d'avance. Merci. Bonjour à tous. Hello everyone, and welcome to the press conference for Sicario. A lot of people on this podium and a lot of people in the audience, so I'll just simply introduce the people who are here with us today. Starting all the way to my left, I'm sorry, the two producers, Molly Smith and Brian, I hope I pronounce it properly, Ivanek?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Ivanek, as we perhaps know, is a specialist of action films. We owe him in part Expendables 1, 2, 3, but we also owe him Ben Affleck's The Town. So welcome, sir. As for Molly Smith, she co-founded the Black Label Media a couple of years ago and produced for the first film I think she produced was The Good Lie under that banner?
Under that banner, correct.
Under that banner. Yes. Which, strangely enough, was also directed by a French-Canadian director, but that's another story entirely. Sitting next to her, possibly the most Oscar-nominated cinematographer ever. He's worked with today's director on his previous film, Prisoners. He's worked extensively with the Coen brothers all the way from at least Big Lebowski up to True Grit. I'm sorry?
From Bum Think.
Okay, there you go. Mr. Roger Deakins. Ladies first. We've seen her as Queen Victoria. We've seen her tormented by Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada. She's our introduction to another bunch of torturers, Miss Emily Blunt. He's played everything and anything from killers to United States presidents. I'll say no more as Mr. Josh Brolin. Oscar-nominated Oscar winner for Traffic, but before that he had got an award here, the Best Actor award here in Cannes. Best Actor also for Che, Benicio del Toro. Incendie was an Oscar nominated in the foreign language category. He's switched languages since then with Prisoners and Enemy. And now his third, I think, English-speaking movie, Sicario, Mr. Denis Villeneuve. You're done with me now, guys. I'm going to take questions. Go ahead.
Hello, good morning. Congratulations for a very powerful film. My name is Yanis from Athens, Greece. I believe that this film, in a way, supports the idea that the means justify the end. So I would like, from the actors and the director, to comment on that, and if possibly can say if this idea, this time and age, is kind of a necessity.
I think, from my humble point of view, that the movie is asking questions about what you just said. I don't think that the movie gave any answers. I think that it's true that we are living in a period of time where gray zones are more blurred than ever. And but it's a movie. That's why I was so attracted to this project, because it was raising strong, accurate questions without giving any answers. That's the way I see it personally.
However, how did that project come to you? Did you ask for someone to write the script or write it with you? Where did the idea come from?
The truth, it came from after Prisoners. I was like, you know, I'm a very, very slow screenwriter, and my appetite for cinema is huge right now, and I'm surrounded by strong scripts, but some of them, it's like falling in love, you know. And I read a lot of scripts in the past years, and this one, I was traumatized when I read it, because I felt that, first of all, that I was doomed, because when you fall in love, you know, you don't have the choice, you have to jump. And it's just, it came from my agent at CA that sent me that script over a night, saying to me, that is for you, it's exactly what you're looking for, because I was really interested since few years about that specific place in Americas, the border between United States and Mexico. And when I read Taylor Sheridan's words, I was like, I knew that this will be my next movie.
Thank you. Question over there.
Hi, Rodrigo Fonseca from Brazil. A question for Mr. Dickens. I would like you to tell us a few words about the shooting of the action scenes. And I also would like to know if Latin American films like City of God or Elite Squad, for example, were used as a visual reference to Sicario. Congratulations for the great film.
Thank you. No, those references you mentioned weren't. We didn't really. I think we looked at some action films, but only just to think about what we didn't want to do, really. I mean, frankly, the person I had in mind, and I probably have, was Jean-Pierre Melville, and that's not just because I'm in France, but he's like always been my kind of hero as a filmmaker. And for me, somehow, I know the subject's very different than his sort of gangster films, but the sort of the mood to me, that sort of take that he had on character building and action sequences. So we shot most of the action, you know, with single camera. You know, we had storyboarded quite a bit, but film, you just gradually kind of talk about things and work it out as you scout locations, and say we storyboard the stuff, but on the day you kind of react to what's there, what the actors want to do, you know, don't you?
Yeah, basically we storyboard a lot, and then on the day we just tear off the screen, the storyboard, and improvise a lot. And, and it's like it's all about point of views at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Question over there.
Good morning, Peter Howell from the Toronto Star in Canada. Congratulations on a thrilling and thoughtful film. And I wanted to ask a question for Denis Villeneuve. Denis, you've been coming here since 1997, I believe, right? And
sorry?
You've come here since 1997. You were here with Cosmos. And
yeah, exactly.
I think you've been in every other section until the competition now.
Yes.
Did you ever feel a bit like Emily Blunt's character, that no one quite explained this place to you and that you were never going to get there?
No, it's true that I was not. I never take things for granted, and I was not necessarily expecting to come back to Cannes. I'm very proud to be here today, and it's a big gift from the festival to invite us. To be honest, specifically, and in particular for that specific movie, because it's a movie that I feel, from a cinematic point of view, very close to me. I feel that I did it without any compromise, in total freedom, and the fact that that has been recognized on the other side of the ocean is quite meaningful. It's really deeply touched me.
Go ahead.
Hello, Jack Mulvin from the Times. Sorry, you want me to stand up? It's really okay. This is a question for Emily Blunt. This role that you've done is a brilliant role for women in a festival that has been very good at celebrating women, female directors. There's a report in one of the papers this morning about women being not allowed entry to one of the premieres because they were wearing flat shoes and not high heels. Is that something that we should have in 2015?
No. I think everyone should wear flats, to be honest, at the best of time. I don't think we shouldn't wear high heels anyway, but that's just my point of view. I just prefer wearing Converse sneakers. But yeah, that's very disappointing, obviously. It's very disappointing. You kind of think that there's these new waves of equality and, you know, waves of people realizing that women are just as kind of fascinating and interesting to watch and bankable. And it was interesting with this film. I think you got asked early on if you'd rewrite my part for a guy.
In fact, the truth that, not me, but the screenwriter, several times he had to, through the years, because the screenplay was written a few years ago, and it was a screenplay that was people were afraid of, in part because the lead was a female character, and I know that the screenwriter was asked several times to rewrite the part. Me, when I got on board, I embraced the screenplay as it was, and it was the same from Black Label and Thunder Road and Lionsgate. They embraced the script as it was, but the pressure come before those guys had the guts to. I can't say that. It's crazy that I'm saying that right now. Had the guts. It's crazy, but it's we embraced the screenplay as it was. Yeah.
To follow up on this question,
and I must say about what that thing that happened in a sign of protest. Benicio, Josh, and I will walk the stairs in high heels tonight. So,
I'd like to see that.
I want a picture of that one. But picking up on what was said just before what was just said, the fact that were you aware that sometimes your character, the scriptwriter wanted or had been pressured into rewriting it as for a fellow?
Well, I just heard about it from you, you know, from director, once I signed on, but...
Did they force you to kind of adjust? I mean, did you take that into account in your characterization?
No, not at all. I mean, I think that... I don't know, I get asked a lot, like, you know, you play a lot of tough female roles, but I don't really see them as tough. I think there are plenty of strong women out there, and I don't think they can be just compartmentalized as being one thing, like you're tough, what, because I have a gun? You know, it's like, I think that I found this character strangely quite damaged and vulnerable, and she's struggling within this realm of being a female cop, and certainly... with the morally questionable things that she's having to experience with these guys, and it's not safe, and so you see this girl, you know, going through pretty much the worst 3 days of her life, and so she's trying to maintain face for most of it, and so I wasn't really aware of. I didn't really think about adjusting it to make it more masculine or something, you know. I think that she's definitely trying to survive in a predominantly male-driven industry, but or profession. But I think, you know, the FBI agents that I spoke to, they sound like me. They just sound like normal girls, and and they go home and they watch Gosford Park and Downton Abbey and, you know, all this stuff. And they're really great girls. You definitely want to have a beer with them. And I found that interesting to kind of get under the skin of what it is to be a female cop and what that costs you, how it affects your marriage, how it affects how you sleep at night, and how you cope with the men working alongside you. It was just really interesting hearing their point of view and quite humbling, actually.
Thank you. Question here.
Hi, Catherine Beauchamp from Montreal. The question is for Emily. You have worked with Jean-Marc Vallée with the Young Victoria, and you just
They're very competitive. We don't like to bring up Jean-Marc's name. We actually would send each other pictures of the two of us together, and then me and Jean-Marc, and then me and Denis, and like... Yeah.
We're very jealous.
Have you noticed a certain way that Canadian directors working? Is that different from other directors in Hollywood?
I think there's a different sensibility. I think both these directors that I work with have a real sense of nuance and a kind of free-spirited way of a scene coming together, very collaborative. And they find the beauty in darkness, and I think that's the similarity. But obviously, Denis is so much better and
more beautiful.
I've said the same thing to Jean-Marc, so it's all right. Yeah.
Would you like to jump in, Benicio, Josh? Would you add to that?
What?
Josh,
wake up.
They want you to say nice things about Denis.
Yes, there is that.
It's me. Is that the question?
Yeah.
Or Jean-Marc Vallée? Which one? No, Denis is amazing. I was very fortunate because I was working a lot in one job after the other, and I got lost in the work, and I was asked to do this film by Denis, and I said no, and stupidly. And luckily, Roger, I've done quite a few movies with, and Emily I knew socially, and they came and made me feel appropriately stupid for turning down the role. And thank God, because it's just one of those things that you don't know. When you read a script that's very good, but you don't, you know, I knew Denis' films and Incendie, which I thought was so incredible. But you never know, and you get caught up in your own life, in your own bubble. And this was one of those films that, you know, we kind of powered through, and the writing was wonderful, and we're kind of reworking scenes as we're doing it on set, as these guys were talking about before. But I tell you, when we sat in that small screen and that small screening room and watched the film for the first time, it doesn't happen that way. Usually when you're not sure about a film, it usually turns out very bad. And we watched this film, and we were so proud to be involved in something like this. It's incredible, and like what he was saying earlier, is it brings up questions. It's a hypothetical. It's almost like doing this film was like being in the war room. If this were the case, could this be a possible solution? Could that be a possible solution? Could that be and we were doing that on set all the time. So a great, wonderful man to work with, because the movie turned out good. If it didn't, I wouldn't say that.
Benicio.
You don't have the choice, man. You must say something nice. Okay. At least.
Yeah. Well, no, we met, and pretty much what Josh said. But we met, and he was very clear, transmitting his enthusiasm and his quest for truth, and so that was a motivator. Also, you know, the script had all this potential, and like Denis has said, he worked with all the actors. He was willing to listen to the concerns of the actors, and it made it really pleasurable to try to impress them. You know, to try to impress them. Yeah.
Question over here.
Mario from Brazil. My question is for Benicio and for Emily. The film have a lot of action, a lot of shooting, but your characters have a kind of confrontation. You shoot her in the film, and the last scene is very powerful, because people in the movie theater is going to associate with Emily character, and I think the confrontation in the last scene between you, I want to know, was shooting the first time? You have time to prepare for that scene? Because for me, that scene was like an Oscar scene.
Emily? Benicio?
Well, we sat on a table. We broke it down. I go back to this thing of trying to impress the director and the other actors. But there's also another person, we try to impress, is Roger Deakins,
Succeeded.
Okay, good. We just sat there and worked it, and I think everybody was, I think when actors, like, we've been doing this for a while, Denis is the director he is, and also having Roger there, I think that it allowed everyone to understand how the scene should go and where should it go. And I mean, personally, was I don't know. But what for me, what really, I think for me, when the scene really, actually, when we're doing was for me was Emily, the way because she has to take everything. I'm giving it all. I'm playing offense, and she has to play defense. And I think in that scene, the defense is much more difficult. And I think when Emily just took the scene for me was like a really great moment to be there, and watch Emily just take over the scene, and really give it something that I hadn't thought about, or we hadn't thought about. To me, that was like, what made the scene work.
Emily?
I think that scene changed from what it was originally on the page. And I remember, the three of us sitting down and talking through all of the options and what we could do and what's the most powerful thing. How are these people really feeling at this moment? What's it costing her when he's asking her to sign this thing? And I think I found it, as we sat there and talked about it, I suddenly thought that I was going to cry, because I think it is quite an emotional scene, and I didn't expect it to be that. I think the stoicism finally gets cracked in half. This character, sort of submarines everything. And as we talked about it, I was finding the scene to be quite upsetting, and that's when Benicio was like, that's what we do. Let's shoot it. Because I think that we were all kind of there, and when a scene works, because the air sort of shifts in the room, and it's what you live for. It's why you do this job, I think, is those moments.
It's a good question, because people are asking me why I think this is my best film. And it's not about the film being good in itself, but why I was able to, as a director, to where I want to go and what I want to do as a director, which is to bring people together and try to bring the best out of them. And that's a good example, because this scene was, in a way, inspired. That was on a screenplay, but it's different. And the difference came from discussions that I had with Benicio and Emily, and we felt that it could be, in a way, because we were through the shooting, it was a real work in progress, a real journey. And at that point, we felt that what was on the page was not what the movie should be aiming for. So, and together, Benicio brought ideas, Emilie brought ideas, I brought ideas, and Roger brought ideas. And it's very, for me, a beautiful moment of creation, because I knew what I wanted exactly from ideas and emotion at the end, but the journey to get there, it was like a collaborative process. And it's tough for my ego to say that. But I think as a director, sometimes I feel that I'm at best when I'm more like a channel where everybody's creation comes together and I can grab that and bring it higher. It's just, for me, it was just pure teamwork. And I know I'm here today because of those guys, so I'm grateful. And thank you, guys. That's what I have to say. Yeah.
Hi, Jada Yuan from New York Magazine. Congratulations on the film. My question is for Emily. I wanted to ask you about the experience of shooting surrounded by guys. Your character doesn't talk to another woman the entire movie, it seems, and so I wanted to know what that was like.
I had this guy, so it's all right. In his high heels, so I was always all right.
You did.
And I also wanted to ask Josh and Benicio what it was like having the gang from No Country for Old Men back together.
Excuse me. I'm not in that gang.
Oh.
All right.
That was Javier.
It's a different haircut.
It's a compliment. Thank you.
That's how much he hides in his roles.
Yeah. What was your question? What was it like being with the dudes all the time? It's something that I've become quite used to because I think that happens quite a lot in films, that there aren't a ton of chicks around always on one movie. But it was great. I've known Benicio for 8 years or something. We did a film together ages ago, and Josh I knew socially, and so for me it really was a pleasure to work with them and be around them. And I remember for such a dark film, it was a very, very happy set, you know, giggly, funny set to be on. So
we shot in harsh conditions, and I wasn't a director. I was in a kindergarten. You know, it was like those guys together. It's like Roger said, "Can they keep quiet for Christ's sake?"
Kindergarten.
Go ahead.
Hi, Jason Gorber from Cineplex and Twitch Film. The film's a masterpiece, Denis. Congratulations. It's also a film about the grayness between the black and the white. I'm wondering if the performers can talk about capturing the nuance in their characters. And Roger, if you could talk about capturing that extraordinary photography, which exemplifies visually this very sense between that division between light and dark.
Okay, start, Roger, if you want to start.
No, I think I'd let the actors start.
Okay.
And sound off something then.
Come on, Josh. Talk about your
The
process.
what? Yeah. Talk about my process. What was the question?
The nuance.
The nuance between light and dark, and well, I mean, when you come into the subject matter is so heavy that you have to, what we were talking about before, you have to keep it light. I don't know, there's something to dive into when you keep it light for me. It's a very selfish state of mind to stay in. Because if I'm sitting there if I'm like in the corner of my trailer thinking about the most horrible things I can, I get bored and I don't, you know what I mean? So if I keep it light, I'm affected by what we're going through. Organically, I think. And this type of thing, I was involved with a movie a couple of years ago, so I did a lot that never happened. Like right before we started shooting, we were supposed to shoot in Mexico City. And we shut down about 3 weeks before we went. So I knew a lot about the subject, and the subject matter is very, very heavy. You know, there's a lot of innocent people obviously dying because of it, and because of the drug trade exists because of America and because of the demand in America. So when we were doing it, to keep that kind of, at least from my character's point of view, to keep some kind of humor, to keep some kind of balance, so when you have a scene like that last scene, you have somewhere to go. You haven't just been there the whole movie. You get these great breaths of fresh air, which is supposedly my character helping to create that, you know, so you can actually be hit by the profundity. So my job in the movie is to be as anti-profound as possible.
Light.
There we go. Thank you for having me.
It's tricky, really. It was good working with Denis on Prisoners beforehand, because that was also a very dark subject. And I was very nervous about Prisoners. I wasn't so nervous about Sicario, but I was nervous about Prisoners because it was very easy to make it go gothic or something. And I think when you take a script like that and you just treat it as though it's absolutely real in some way, without trying to exaggerate, accentuate, make comment on it almost, And I think that worked in Prisoners, and I think in a way that's kind of what I felt with Sicario, that it could also go way over the top. It could be a, you know, just a shoot-'em-up movie, or it's very complex, there's so much going on. And I'm a very simple person. I like simplifying things. I like keeping things really, you know, honest in a way, if that's not a pretentious way of putting it, you know.
Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Baz Bammy Boy. Pretty outstanding movie for Tuesday morning in Cannes. Thank you. Emily Blunt, good to see you.
How are you?
Well, thank you.
Good.
Emily, you spoke about working with the FBI agents, the female ones. What kind of guidance did they give you about procedure and how to handle yourself with a gun, etc.? And also, how high are those stiletto heels going to be tonight?
They're not too high, actually, because the dress is long, so they can hide them. Yes, it was, I only spoke to them on the phone, so there wasn't a sort of physical interaction where they showed me how to stand and how to, you know, hold a gun. I had worked with guns before, and so I felt pretty competent with them. And then I had some training once I got to New Mexico, where we shot it, and worked with the DEA guys there, and just to learn the choreography of a SWAT team and how that works, and how incredibly choreographed it all is, and it's very intricate and almost like a dance, you know, and they are incredibly efficient, the FBI, and that was really good to see how they work, and the restraints of being in that job, and that's part of why the character struggles so much with these guys, because she's held accountable for every bullet she fires, and these guys just spray them, you know. And so I think this is the world that she's in. So I think that was helpful for me as well, to just learn the restraints and composure that these officers have.
Question over here.
Hello, Pepa Blanes from Spain, Mr. Villeneuve. Could you elaborate a little more? Why are you so interested in Mexican border, please?
In
Mexican border.
Oh, no, but because we all know in this room how much violence is there. And as a North American, I know that I share a part of responsibility for that. And that violence is under, from what I understood, is under a cover of silence. And I think that violence is horrible, but violence under silence is more horrible. I think that it's just, as a filmmaker, I feel a responsibility to explore, not explore, it's not the right word, but to try to give to embrace that reality, I don't know, in some ways. I must say that the movie is not about Mexico. For me, the movie is about America. But still, I felt that the screenplay was sensitive about that reality. And I felt comfortable to talk about that reality because that reality was seen from the American point of view. So, and I know that there are strong movies coming out of Mexico, like Ellie, 2 years ago, something like that. Very, Ellie. Very powerful film. But I think that we should make more and more movies about that reality. People there are very afraid. I understand why, and it's just I felt as a filmmaker, I was coming from my heart. It was what I wanted to talk about.
Question over there.
Oui, Jean-François Bélanger, Radio-Canada. J'aimerais avoir une réponse en
I would
français
like
de
to
Denis
have an
Villeneuve.
answer in French from Denis Villeneuve. Yesterday, you said that being in Cannes is like being in the lion's den. It's not easy to impress people.
Des premiers échos. And I would have a quick question also for Benicio, Emily, and Josh. Can you characterize in a few words how is it to work with Denis? Actually, what is Denis' touch? What does he bring to a movie?
Les critiques,
The critics.
Écoutez, c'est un privilège de faire du cinéma.
Well, it's a privilege to make films. It's a privilege to be here with you.
Il faut, ça fait partie du jeu.
The critics are part of the game. I have no problem with that. Like all the directors, I've been criticized in a positive or in a negative way. But of course, in Cannes, one does lay oneself open to criticism. The screening of the film finished about a quarter of an hour ago, and everything seems very positive in terms of the reactions to it. Nobody's thrown tomatoes at me yet. My jacket looks fine still. I can confirm that the reactions were very positive.
And would you guys comment on Denis' touch?
I have to say the thing that struck me most and the thing that I have so much respect for was Denis' humility and ability to say, I don't know, and let me sleep on it, and I'll come up with an answer to it. And he would very often say, I don't have the answer for you, and go and have a sleepless night and have the answer in the morning. And I think that that kind of openness is very present in his films, you know, because he allows for you to carve out space for yourself and doesn't stifle you as an actor. And so I think that, for me, was what I loved about working with him, because I think he is that very fine line of visually being incredibly clever, along with, obviously, Roger Deakins, but great with actors, which is an unusual combination. It's usually one or the other.
You know, I've done many movies that deal with that part of the world, and I'm very sensitive about that part of the world and what's happening on both sides of the border with the problem with drugs. And I think the story and Denis was like saying something that is kind of new through my character, or new for me that I haven't played, which is this revenge, total, the means justifies the end. And I think that in order to play that, you need you need to have someone that is willing to take chances. And so Denis was like Tom Sawyer to Huckleberry Finn. For me, he pushed me to drive, to take the chance and go further out, which what I think was true to the movie, true to the story of that character being all or nothing. And we're not taking any hostages. And bringing it back to the first question, I don't think that the movie does not say that for me. But I think two of the three characters, Josh's character and my character, are saying that. Emily's character is not. And therefore, it's a question. Me personally, I don't believe like my character does. I think that justice should be flanked by law and order. But it's a big problem, and the drug problem in Mexico and in the United States and in Europe. So Denis was, my favorite thing about Denis was that he was sensitive. Like I said, I'm an old horse when it comes to that problem. Maybe my first movie that I ever did had to deal with this problem. So Denis being new to this problem, and he came in with the wisdom of understanding it, you know, fully. Blah, blah, blah.
Josh?
I don't know if I believe Denis anymore. I think that, you know, he comes across as somebody who's very uncertain, and I don't think that's true.
What do you mean uncertain? What does it mean?
I don't know. I'm all messed up today. I don't have the answer. I don't know.
I don't know.
What do you guys
I feel
think?
very uncertain about this scene, and I don't know. What do you think? And I think he, you know, when I saw the movie, I go, this fucker knows exactly what he wants. There's no way to accomplish what I just saw and have no idea what you're doing. So, and I truly believe that, you know? So I think what he does is he wants it to come from you, even though he's manipulating you to do exactly what he wants you to do. So not only you can feel good as an actor, like you actually gave something to the film, which you didn't, but also that it's organic. That you really, while you're doing it, you're like, God, I came up with this great idea. Like, thank God he has me on the set. And then I saw the movie and I said, this has nothing to do with me. And no, I won't go to Cannes. Yeah, like, see how he's petting me? Like, I just figured him out. And he goes, it's okay, little actor, go home now. No, he has this way. He's like a kindergarten, you know, he talked about us as being, you know, kids, and he's the unruly kindergarten teacher who instigates the whole thing. Like, the kids were actually really well behaved before he walked in the room. But you end up having an amazing, organic, intuitive education, you know? You grow up an artist.
Look who's talking. I cannot believe Josh Brolin is saying that. No, I won't go in this
path. It's honestly true. It's true.
That my joke had under layers, and I don't want to explain what I was trying to joke about.
Discomfort.
Discomfort.
On this note, I'm afraid our time is up. Thank you very much for being here today.